the consumer behavior is imposed to be different. So they imposed to lock down at home, they imposed themselves, or it was imposed on them to not to go out. So we started to do different measures. So what we did is we draw a map of all our stakeholders, because we are in the beauty, let's say, especially in the skincare, not only in the beauty will deal more with the consumer, but in the skincare, we have three stakeholders, which is the beauty, the pharmacists, and the doctors. So we draw like this map, and then we start to brainstorm which type of digital communication and which type of conversion digital actions that leads to sales that can be communicated to each of the stakeholders. And then we put like probably 20, 30 ideas per stakeholder, and then we start to prioritize. And the prioritization here was based on one very important factor, which is the readiness. As I told you, we were not having any platforms, nothing. Yes, everything was under development, but it was in the normal base. Now we need something like to do it right now. So I can tell you that the key here in the digital transformation is the readiness, even if you use the platform like Zoom, even if you use the platform, which is a public platform, which you don't own. So number one, readiness. Number two is prioritization related to emotional link and the conversion objective. So it's not only we need to convert our consumers to buy in order not to lose sales, but we need also to keep this emotional link between NOWs and any company actually in the beauty industry and their consumers. So the consumers needs to feel engaged, cared about, let's say, because this will make the difference not only on the short term, but also on the long term. So we had a hell of ideas, starting from very simple ideas like webinars, like digital messages, like conversion into the e-commerce, and we don't have a platform of the e-commerce. Actually, no one in the beauty industry here, except one or two players, have their own e-commerce. So also collaborating with e-commerce platforms, start to send conversion. Also the content here is very important in the digital transformation. If you develop your content friendly, emotional, caring about the people, you will find a lot of engagement, and consequently the conversion will be higher. So right. This is what we was doing. So to sum it up, is readiness, is prioritization per stakeholder, and is to develop a proper content, emotional and caring content.
Right. Also, will you want to touch upon the idea of expense? Because you talked about three important factors, and getting into e-commerce or digital transformation to drive that, you need funds. So will you want to touch upon that point as well?
Yes. For sure, after the COVID-19, and I think it is in the beauty industry, in any other industry, not only in the beauty industry, you will face your financial guys coming and say, we need to achieve this profit. So cut your expenses. So what we did is actually we cut a lot of expenses. We cut up to probably 40%, 50% of the expenses. However, all the other leftover expenses, we directed to digital. So it is mainly to content creation. It is mainly to building our platforms. It is mainly to deal with the different e-commerce platforms. So it is prioritization. First, you do the cut. You will do the cut, to be very frank. You will not save, and you will not keep the 100 euro is the same pocket as 100 euro. You probably have 50, but direct this 50 into creating as much as you can digital content, and creating or partnering with as much as you can platforms to ensure this readiness again of the digital transformation. Plus, we also prioritize some ideas which is almost zero cost. So sending, using WhatsApp, for example, for sending digital messages or some online quizzes or all that, this is zero cost. The other aspect also I'm proud actually with the team to do during this crisis is we started to, let's say, discover the real talents in the team. So you may find a merchandising, a beauty advisor, someone who really good in developing videos. So in this case, we give him some training related to the look and feel of the brand and some tips about technical issue, and start to make them work, especially while working from home. So also use all the talents that available. And let's say, don't start from the top, start from the bottom. So what we did is we asked every team to sit together and to start to put brainstorming ideas and to start to put capabilities behind these ideas, what you will do to achieve your ideas. And then we collect everything, and we came with a very cost-effective ideas, sometimes zero-cost ideas, and in the same time effective, because those guys are the closest to the consumer. So they know what the consumer wants. They give us the best insights. So it is not top-down, it is down-top approach, let's say.
Right. Very, very interesting point, down top approach. I can completely agree that this is going to be the future for most brands. So moving on, what can a brand in the beauty and wellness category do to become digitally ready is what you've already told us. Now, from there, I straight away go to the marketing part. Like, the budgets have been cut down for marketing. So what is your brand doing to market at this point? And probably if you can give us a long-term approach also in the months to follow.
Okay, so for the time being and up probably till the end of the year as a short-term approach, it will be mainly depending on which type of assets, digital assets we already built in the last 1 year or the last 2 years. For example, loyalty program at that time is very important, and we were luckily enough to have our loyalty program. So this is what we will build on into the D2C direct, the D2C dealing with our consumers. Other stakeholders like pharmacists, for example, we don't have any money more to invest. So we will depend mainly again about the B2B marketing, which is our relation with the pharmacists. More trainings, more webinars, more out of the box, let's say out of the box topics. So I will not talk only about my product. I will talk about things that keeps you engaged, like business training, like business topics, like even getting you a doctor. So here we are linking doctor and pharmacy together to teach you about how you deal with, for example, a patient coming to you with a dermatology issue or something. And this is zero cost almost. So it does not cost anything. So this is what this type of activation, what we will do. And also we were also very lucky enough to have like a digital platform in dealing with the pharmacies ready. So we will also depend on this digital platform. With the doctors, usually the doctors are not costly stakeholders to deal with. Even in the skincare industry, because by the end of the day, it is just a call of a man person. So to sum it up, it is the man efficiency that we will deal on, or we will depend on in the coming 8 months till the end of the year. Plus, it is the digital assets that we were already having. The third aspect is the collaboration with the e-commerce platforms. So we have a lot of e-commerce platforms, starting from the biggest Amazon and up to local e-commerce platforms, which we already done with them a commercial terms and conditions, and we are already promoting our beauty brands in them with some promos from time to time, also to make it up. And here I also need to stress that it needs to be flash promo, it needs to be different promo, it needs to be also the content behind the promo, not only commercial, but also something that reflects a need for the consumer. So this is what we will do for this year. From the next year, let's say that the expenses of the brand will be directed up to 30 to 35% into building digital assets, to be ready, to raise our readiness. And I will not expect that consumer behavior will remain the same as before COVID. So yes, part of the consumer will return back into offline once everything is opening up, but let's say the consumer who experienced it online will remain at least 20 to 25% of his behavior in purchasing will remain online. So this will make a shift in how we distribute our expenses to online more than offline. And I was having a very nice discussion yesterday with my team about, yes, but it will maybe very, let's say, challenging, because also the retailers are very strong and they will demand even in 2021. Probably now they are not demanding because they know the situation, but after that they will start to demand. And we said, no, we need at a certain point to stop this demand and really shift our budget to reflect this digital transformation. The other thing that also very needed on the long to medium term is digital savvy building for our team. So training for the team. Yes, we have a digital team, but it is not about digital team. It's about the whole organization. So we started already to train the BAs how to do online video calls, webinars. We started to train our field team to be into this digital transformation. We are thinking to build what is called a shop for our team, to be there to put like a blog. Also to start to put content as a training for them, because in 2021, 30 to 35% of our communication will be in a digitalized form.
Right. Perfect. So from that, I move on to a question that we've got from one of the delegates. They're asking that with diminishing marketing budgets, how can smaller brands make their presence felt to the customer out there? So you spoke about an established brand. Can you give us some perspective or to-do list for a smaller beauty brand?
I will tell you something about the smaller beauty brand, because I was thinking about this topic with one of my friends have a startup actually in the skin industry. And when we were discussing together how he can manage, first of all, let's identify which budget you will put in this crisis and versus the expectation of the sales. So for example, if you build your brand in 2020 based that you have, let's assume 100,000 dirhams or euros sales, and you will spend 10,000, which is 10% almost of your sales. And now you are expecting, how much you are expecting to drop? Is it 50%? Is it 60%? Is it 80%? Just first make the expectation of the sales drop as per the current situation. Second, make the expectation of the profit drop you may tolerate, because for sure do not expect that you will have the same profit as before. Otherwise, in the startup, close the startup. If you really expect to have the same percentage of profit or absolute, let's say not percentage, absolute of the profit, it will not work. You need to make compromises. So see how much profit you may tolerate to lose while also gaining your team and keeping your team, which I do not expect that it will be a big team, probably 1 or 2 people. The third thing is revise your marketing plan. Which of this marketing plan can be cost effective and can serve your objective for the time being? Which is mainly, for example, if you need to deal online, go into WordPress, go into Shopify and open your online. If you want to target let's say, digitalize your platform or advertise on digital your platform, there is a lot of ways to reduce the cost per click, reduce the bidding for the keywords. So just try to optimize how you will spend the rest of the driving needs. So to sum it up, identify first which type of sales drop you expect. Identify which type of profitability drop you may tolerate. The third is revise all your marketing plan. Start to prioritize some actions and cancel completely other actions. And the priority is based to, number one, how effective this action will make you in relation or in contact with the consumer. And number two, how effective is the cost effective is this action. The third thing is the ROI. Calculate the ROI of every action and then take or prioritize the actions with the highest ROI. The fourth step is look at your team. If you have like some freelancers, if you are dealing with some agencies and you can replace them with any of your team to reduce the cost and the profit of the agency, this is well and good. If you have also some team members in your team, which is absolutely not productive anymore, he will not be able to do it, even put him on an unpaid leave till this crisis pass. Or if you can shift his interest to support another team which you have, or another one personnel which have an overestimated capacity, it will be also good. So this is as a startup, and I think that the startups can probably have a better, let's say, a better chance, honestly. Because simply when you are a big organization, you face a lot of first stress from your headquarters, because they need some numbers. They are the one usually who tell you which type of profit I need to get. It's not that easy or not that flexible you do. Number two, you expect a lot. So you expect a lot of growth and you have a very big team. So your challenges to overcome the expense cut is probably higher than a startup that works with 2, 3 people or 4 people or even 10 people. While the flexibility and the agility is higher in the startup than in the big company. So I think it is still opportunistic, it's just planning, proper planning and proper prioritization.
Right. Perfect. I think this is a very, very stretched out answer. So I think the startups will make the most of this. So moving on, we have one question again on the financial part, that someone anonymous is asking you, dear Marwa, if you had more money to spend this year, what would you invest it in?
Okay, if I had more money, I will invest in building my digital assets.
Right.
So this will be my basic investment. The second investment is train and increase the effectiveness of my team. So those are the 2 directions.
Right. I think he or she has got your answer. Moving on, there's another question from Muhammad Rafat. To have considerable market share, firms should have a mind and heart share. How that could be realized during unprecedented uncertainty and fear from pandemic COVID? What are your recommendations?
So can you please repeat the first part of the question? To have a market share, what happened?
Sure. He's asking basically, to have considerable market share, companies should have a mind and heart share. How could you realize this at a time like this, basically?
I will answer a little bit in a not traditional way, because to be honest, I was not so much afraid to lose market share. I was afraid, or let's say I was concerned about losing sales and losing profit, but definitely not market share, because in order to keep your market share, you need to be quicker than the market. And the whole market is already suffering from exactly what you are suffering from. So we are all suffering from the same story. And in the beauty industry, if we are talking specifically in the beauty industry, because it's different in the pharmaceutical industry. If you're talking in the beauty industry, we are all suffering from the whole story, the same problem. Behavior of the consumer changed, the consumer purchase power dropped, and even reprioritized into essentials rather than beauty, or rather than skincare. However, the quicker and the more cluttering you do your activities versus competition, the more market share you will have. The end result that you will lose sales, but you will gain or exceed your market share. So in order to, as also to give it a very simple statement, if I want to keep my market share, I need to be higher than the market in the activities I'm doing, in the creativity I am doing, and also in the activation and, let's say, the content I am developing to my consumer needs to be different. And here I am not concerned more about money rather than creativity and team efficiency. And again, some simple ideas can make a very good sound with the consumer, and by the end of the day, it costs nothing. So we return back again to the which type of activation you will go. And do not just say, because this is, I observe it from some beauty markets, once the COVID started, they just stopped. So yes, some digital advertising is there, some programs are there, but nothing on all the stakeholders level, nothing which is consistent. And let's say you need to take the brand visibility. You need to have the highest visibility in the market in order to ensure that your market share will not drop. And this is in your hand. It's according to your content plan, your digital plan, your actions plan, nothing more.
Right, absolutely. So moving on, okay, Mohammed tells thank you to you.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Next question, how soon will the market gain back its impetus post lockdown? Any projections?
I will tell you the projection I read in the newspaper and in the economy analysis and all these articles, and I will tell you my own estimation. Most of the markets, especially here in the Middle East, that say that probably start of July, the tourism industry is about to come and the airline industry is about to operate again. The petrol prices will still be, let's say, very low for probably till the end of the year. Of course, it will gradually increase, but not wow. What I estimate is there will be an economic recession for probably 1 to 2 years. It started already from last Jan-Feb, and it will continue probably till 2022. If we translate this article style statements into operational or into real on the ground story, my estimation is probably in the last quarter of the year, the sales of most of the companies will start to grasp like its normal shape again, but the drop will continue till the Q3. The consumers, the fear and the consumer's journey will change. Yes, they direct themselves online, but the online will never compensate the offline. This is number one. And it will never compensate all the multi-channels. And also people afraid of getting losing their jobs, of the income is reduced, the unpaid leaves and all this. So I think till this is all digested and the ecosystem started to, let's say, organize itself again, it will be till Q4 2020. However, do not expect the same level in 2021. So if you are dreaming of a growth in 2021, basically 20%, I don't think that this 20% will continue. So we need to be a little bit realistic in our expectations. The whole world is in a crisis. It's not a country, so we can expect supports. Yes, governments start to give funds and stimulus, but this will not be enough. Let's say Q4, it will be a real improvement in the situation. However, the real recap will be probably 2022.
Right. Perfect. I think that's a very good analysis about the timeline. And moving on, Mohammed Shalan asks you a question. Do you think this is the right time to reduce the investment with the big customer to save on budget?
By the way, Mohammed is one of my team, so it is a targeted question, let's say. I will tell you, if it is my company, I will not reduce the investments. I will prioritize the investment and direct it into the right direction, and probably slow down the investment for Q2 and Q3 and start to push a lot of investment in Q4 in order to grasp more. However, the overall ending of the 2020 will be that you reduce the overall investment because there is nothing more to do in Q2 except for the digital, let's say. But I will not make it as a rule. So it's not because we are in a crisis, let's reduce the investment. It has many factors to affect this. First, which type of profitability you can compensate? Because you may reduce the investment and lose your profitability completely. And after that, you may sacrifice the team or sacrifice let's say the future of a brand or of a business development or of an R&D, which is not logic so much. Yes, you can stop the R&D but you need to ensure that the R&D have money and funds enough after a couple of months to continue again, because no company is existing without R&D. You need to save the people, because the people are the base. And when we were talking about really that the team efficiency is the base behind getting out of this crisis in a good market share shape. So we cannot sacrifice the people. So we don't have so many options unless to sacrifice the investment or part of the investment. So I can't say that it should be a rule, crisis, cut investment. No, it shouldn't be a rule. It depends on many factors.
Perfect. So moving on, Sanket Rastogi poses a question. He asks you how luxury segment will cope after this COVID.
How luxury segment will cope. Okay. I have another brand, let's say, which is a luxury beauty brand.
Yes.
I will tell you for sure that the luxury beauty brands will be more affected than the low to medium priced beauty brands. The recap will be slower than the normal beauty brand or even luxury industry in general, because as I told you, in economic recession, it is again an issue of prioritization of where I put my money as a consumer. However, what is good about luxury beauty brand is again the luxury brands in general, whether beauty or outside beauty, even fashion, their consumer segmentation is different. So they usually get the consumer that is niche, that is very high income. It's not about 20,000 is a rupee or dollar or euro, whatever the currency. It is really the top notch, 5 to 10% of the consumer pyramid. And those people, I don't think that those type of consumers will have too much to suffer from the economy recession. For sure, they will suffer on their industry, on their business side, but not on their personal side. It will have like a sharp drop in the start. However, it will return big step by step. Also, my expectation will be Q4, it will start to recap a little bit for the luxury. I don't think that, let's say that it will be destroyed as a luxury brand, provided that one thing, your consumer segmentation was right from the start. Because if you are a luxury brand and you were talking from medium to high impact, you will be destroyed. If you are a luxury brand and you are targeting this top notch of the consumer pyramid, which is really the high to very high and even a spectacular income, I don't think that you will be touched so much.
Right. I think that's a fair enough reply. Moving on, the next question that we have is, building e-commerce will help, but what about the cost? We've already spoken about the cost. Cost-effective alternatives also we've spoken. So next question, how as a brand are you exploring the multi-channel presence, and what will be your plans in the long term post-COVID? You have briefly touched upon this when you started off with the digital transformation, but if you want to kind of earmark certain things, you can go ahead.
I will not speak too much about this topic because simply it is the same multi-channel plan you need to put, whether with the COVID or without the COVID. Yeah. So the plan should be always multi-channel. It is not, I am only investing digitally, I'm only investing a store, or offline, I'm only investing B2B, I'm only investing B2C. It needs to be multi-channel, or what is called 360 plan. In the COVID crisis, the investment should be shifted more into the digital versus other channels. However, every month we need to review this because the situation is changing. And also online surveys for the consumer behaviors needs to be something like consistent, because it makes you, let's say, get a right decision about at which time you need to direct this investment into this channel rather than that channel. So the multi-channel needs to be there all the time with COVID or without COVID. And this is the new approach of dealing with marketing. Unless your business model from the start is only directed into one channel, because we see this in some beauty brands, like for example, Ordinary beauty brand, it only focus on digital. It has no other multi-channel, at least in my region, it has no other multi-channel investment. So it is according to your plan, whether you go one channel or multi-channel. However, I usually prefer to go multi-channel, especially the biggest your brand is, the more multi-channel is needed. If you are a startup, you can start with only one channel, also to optimize your spend and to ensure the return of investment. And then after that, you can open and widen your channels. But without multi-channel approach, I doubt that any company can really get the expected growth, the strategic 5 to 10 years growth, let's say.
Right. So while we are talking multi-channel, I am curious to know one thing, that how different is the multi-channel in case of India and the other regions? Have you ever noticed a change? Because you are talking about a situation without COVID also. So I would want to know how region specific is the consumer behavior, or what have you noticed over the years?
I will tell you, because we also have very dear colleagues in India that we are always dealing with them a lot and expressing and sharing ideas. So in Middle East, you will find that the multi-channel is, I'm talking now about skincare, not beauty in specific. However, we can also talk about beauty, but we will have the offline pharmacies, offline stores. We will have the digital. Those are the touch points, let's say, from the consumer. And in the skincare, you can add also, you have the doctors, which is clinics, hospitals, and all that. This is the multi-channel ecosystem that we are dealing with. In the Middle East, the main investment is going into the offline store channels. So store or POS, according to which type your brand is. Is it a pharmacy brand, or is it a store brand, or is it both? Because this is the most demanding channel and the most visible channel. And let's say before COVID, 100% of the consumer behavior, or let's say, not to be very exaggerated, 90% of the consumer behavior was into going to the store and buy. So you put a lot of investment while you give a little bit of investment into the digital, and also a good investment to the doctors, because doctors can build your brand if you are a pharmacy brand. If you are, of course, a beauty brand, this channel is not your channel at all. In India, it's a little bit different. You will find the retailer or the stores are the weakest part of the chain. The doctors are the strongest part, equal as strong as the digital. Because taking in consideration the India geography, very big country, remote areas, rural areas, so digital there is really a need for many of the people. Also putting in consideration the culture of the people themselves, more technically developed, more digital savvy as even the normal people. So that's why that makes the channels way or weight is different in India than in Middle East. The Middle East is the other way around. So probably in KSA, it's a little bit different. It's more in between India and GCC, because also KSA is a big country and you need this digital, let's say the digital need is there. However, the digital savvy and readiness of the people are not there. So this is how I find the multi-channel. It is, by the end of the day, it is the same channels. We will not reinvent the wheel, but it is just which channel have a higher weight than which. It is according to the consumer journey and the touch points of every consumer versus the brand.
Right. Moving on, another anonymous attendee has given you a question. From your experience, does it make sense to talk to your suppliers about reducing their prices so you can better manage your costs? And are you open to these discussions?
For sure, we are open to this discussion. However, the pricing somehow in the beauty industry, the multinational beauty industry, is a little bit different, because it is fixed prices from the manufacturer from the start. So what is currently, let's say, under negotiation is the investment you put in the suppliers. Because the suppliers also, I'm not talking here about the supplier of the brand, but I'm talking about the supplier of the services. So, for example, if you are talking about the retailers, of course, I'm completely open, and we started some negotiation already, but it is a very tough negotiation. And those who are working in the Middle East knows that about the profit margin, about the discounts, about the fees that we were paying for visibility, even on the e-commerce, about if the marketing support and the e-commerce platform, if I want to put a banner, why I put it with this price in this crisis, let's negotiate all the prices. So for sure, negotiating prices with all your stakeholders is on the table.
Right.
It's part of the driving expenses or of the expenses reduction policy. You cannot do it without it.
Right. So I think our anonymous attendee will get in touch with you. We have almost 15 minutes left to talk to Marwa, and the conversation is really interesting. So if you guys have more questions, please put in. We still have a lot of questions, so I hope we get a few of them answered in the time we have. So yeah, please put in your questions, and we'll take the best out of the lot. So coming back to you, Marwa, my next question is that beauty products come with an expiry date. So if the market delays its opening, how will you tackle the lot that's nearing expiry?
Okay, so there is two, let's say, scenarios here. If we are talking generally about the beauty products, because in some countries like Saudi, for example, it is not about the expiry date of the product, but it is about the expiry date after opening the product. So you will find on the beauty brand like a jar or a tube saying that use this product 12 months after opening, which diminish this problem completely, because by the end of the day, there is no expiry date. It's just when the consumer takes the product, he needs to consume it within 6 to 12 months after opening. It's according to the direction on the brand itself. However, other brands have an expiry date which is engraved or printed on the products. And in this case, number one, monitoring the expires. So monitoring the stock with the expiry date is essential. So you need on a monthly basis to monitor all your brand SKUs or all your products that you have, and focus on those who are 1 year expiry, which we call near expiry, and start to do specific actions to liquidate the expiry. And for sure, the commercial team are doing usually a great job in that. And this is their own play, let's say. They know very well which type of actions. And then they go, whether it is online actions, like some promotions, like some discounts, like even turn some of the near expiry into samples to recruit new consumers that is on another brand. So there is a lot of tactics that is done. Those tactics were very good implemented offline in the pharmacies, in the stores. However, online, now after the COVID, it is also implemented online. So online is a new channel to liquidate the near expires.
Great.
This is the case of the near expiry, whether it is a real problem or it is not a problem at all. Yeah. If it is a real problem, just put actions, identify first who are the near expires, put actions per each lot you have, and start to proceed. And expect that you may lose by the end of the day, because you may sometimes not liquidate everything. So always put in your budget some provisions for expiry compensations, for compensating of this expiry brands. But for sure, it shouldn't exceed more than probably 3 to 5% of your whole portfolio to get expired.
Right. So all roads lead online basically at the moment. So moving on, Mohammed Rafat has one more question for you. I do believe social distancing and work from home policy really affect the beauty product sales as people become less excited. Do you agree? If yes, what is your advice to remotivate the consumers?
Yes, Mohammed, I was agreeing with you in the end of March, start of April, let's say. Because in the start, it was really affecting even the passion of the consumers. And this was coming from online surveys, from one-to-one interviews with some of the stakeholders, especially the consumers, from the feedback we are hearing from the retailers. How we shift that, there were two factors. The first factor is after time, people get bored, guys. So at a certain point, people need to return back to their normal life. So they start again to, especially ladies, in the start you are stuck, you don't want to use any products, beauty products, and I will be more challenging to myself, and I will talk about makeup, because makeup was probably, in my opinion, the most hit in this social distancing rather than the skincare. But after a couple of days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you start again to feel, okay, it is life and it needs to be continued. And I need, as a consumer, as a lady, to start again to feel beautiful. So I start again slowly to pick up as a consumer mindset. And what confirmed my actions is we had a very nice initiative to gather the consumers with our promoters in a video calls. In the start, we had a lot of resistance. Yeah, guys, we will not use those products. We don't need, and here I'm talking about skincare, which is a little bit more essential than makeup. But even if I put myself in the shoes of makeup, I will say that, no, okay, I don't want, it's not the right time. But after that, we found that the consumers really happy to attend this meetings. And they start to ask about many problems, because also social distancing and locking down start to increase what is called acne outbreak, dry skin outbreak, because it's, again, you are not in a normal condition, and also the stress on top. So they started to act and ask about which type of products I can use for this pimple, for that spot, for all these stories. And let's say, surprisingly enough, we ended these meetings usually with a conversion or a call to action. So ask from our e-commerce, buy from our e-commerce, and we found a lot of consumers after these calls start to buy. So yes, of course it will affect. Otherwise, the life will be very nice and we will achieve our sales by the end of the day. But do not lose hope that the social distancing will lock completely. It may be a good alternative to compensate some of what you will lose from your offline sales, to do such consumer meetings and to test the real feelings of the consumer. And you will find 10 to 20% of the consumers are really willing to buy and are really willing to not to trap themselves in the social distances. And I can see it now from the consumer behavior. Once the lockdown is removed in Dubai, you can see the people coming back again to the malls, start to shopping and putting themselves inside. The online growth was almost 300% in the last 1 month versus the same month last year. Of course, the category data, unfortunately, is not available, but the skincare data, let's say, was almost 150% growth versus the norm. So it is a risk. Social distancing is a risk, but I will not lose hope. I will be more optimistic to reach more consumers and to see how this will affect.
Great. So in reply, Mohammed says, great leader, Marwa, to find opportunities inside the crisis. Well done. Okay. So yeah, Mohammed Sadiq has one question for you. Thanks, Marwa, for your comprehensive session. From your experience, if you have planned to launch a skincare product in Q2 or Q3 of 2020, do you feel confident to keep the plan as it I feel he's asking whether you should keep the plan afloat given the current situation, or postpone it when you expect to launch it.
It's according to the business model that you chose for the plan. If I will launch a beauty brand, which will be basically digital business model, I will launch it. I will not postpone. But if it is a brand that is basically, as a business model, depend more on the multi-channel approach or the retailer approach, I will postpone.
Okay. I think, yeah, that's what the whole session was all about. Again, all roads lead to digital. So I would want to know, there's a question that came to us. Can you highlight a few opportunities that you think the health and wellness industry can lap up as the silver lining of COVID?
For my region, let's say the main opportunity is the digital transformation, because we are coming out of a region which is the total retail contribution is 4% of the total retail, or the total sales inside the whole region, which is 4% is nothing. So the opportunity here is at a certain point, you will have 10 up to 20% digital contribution versus the total retail. And what is opportunistic in the digital, it is usually less costly than the offline. So online is usually less costly, so gives you more profit. So here you have some profit opportunity, shifting your business model into digital. To be very pragmatic, this opportunity and this increase in the profit from the digital platforms will not compensate your loss in the offline, especially if you were in the start depending 95% on retail. But it may reduce your losses. And with the time going till 2022, 2023, this shift will allow your organization to make higher profit in 2022, 2023 versus even the budgeted profit from the normal multi-channel approach.
Right. So I think we are almost at the end of the session. I have time for 1 or 2 questions max. So another anonymous attendee asks you, what share of the offline consumer sales switched to online sales since the lockdown?
As a share, unfortunately, the Middle East is not an area of a good data, let's say. So we don't have data, but we have some feedback to be very also pragmatic in conveying the message that, let's say, up to 20 to 30% of the consumer shift to online versus in the old days, 4 to 5% only. This is not linked to a specific category because maybe personal care category also plays a big part of it. But this is as a total consumer behavior.
Right. Okay. Here's one more question that we have. Being omnipresent is the call of the day, but brands are now harping on the fact of reaching the consumers in their living quarters. Any strategy that you will adopt to sail through this?
Sorry, can you repeat the last part of the question because it was dropped?
Yeah, basically now brands are focusing on the fact of reaching the consumer at where they are in their living quarters, given the social distancing. So any strategy that you will adopt to sail through this?
Yes, actually we already adapted and implemented the sale for this, and I will tell you because I'm responsible currently about almost 6 countries. So every country has its own demographics and its own nature. In the UAE, it is the most digitally, let's say, literate company across all GCC. So here, the e-commerce can easily reach to the consumers, and we can reach them with content via social media, via advertising, via Google AdWords, via search engine, all these activities or aspects. However, in a country like Kuwait, for example, I will talk about some other countries where the e-commerce is very primitive. You will not find Amazon, you will not find the big players. Here we started to do our own call center. So just a post on the social media, if you have beauty advice, skincare advice, whatever, just call those numbers. And surprisingly enough, people started to call and to ask for advices. It started first with advices, and then our promoters with their selling skills, they can also convert this advices or these calls into selling. So this is one of the ways how to reach to them. So you reach to them by social media, by phone, by WhatsApps, by platforms like, this chat platforms like Mighty Network, like all these platforms that can make a consumer community for your consumers and can make your consumer always linked to you. And for let's say, replying their needs, you can still reach them, whether with e-commerce or whether with your delivery service. So this is let's say, the tactics that we did. However, the strategy will always remain the same. With COVID or without COVID, reach your consumer and be convenient for your consumer, be accessible for your consumer wherever they are, whether we are in a lockdown or we are not in a lockdown. And it is the whole idea of the consumer journey understanding and the touch point understanding.
Right. I think that brings us to the end of our session. If you want to just sum up some pointers or something, just a sign off for our delegates.
Thank you so much again for giving me this opportunity, and thanks for everyone who participated with time and effort and questions in this webinar. I'm really proud to connect to all of you. As a sum it up, this year, expect to lose. Yes, expect to lose. Don't be shy that you will lose, because everyone lost, so it is not a big issue. Your team is the main powerful corner in this game. So keeping the team, even if it is 2-3 members team, those are the real power that you can sail in this wind without. Prioritize your investment into more digital actions to comply and to adapt with the consumer journey changes is crucial now, and agility and flexibility again is crucial. Do not wait 2-3 months till you take a decision. Do the decision even if it is wrong. Do it and learn from it. It will not also be the end of the world if it is wrong. You can easily connect it. And if you have a little bit of a common sense, you and the team, you will not do fatal mistakes. You will do some mistakes, but not fatal. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Marwa. All the best to you and your team for the time to come.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, delegates, for your questions and for staying with us till the end. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you and have a good day. Thank you.
You too. Yeah.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Yeah, bye. Bye.